All right. Welcome, everyone, to this edition of the Noisy Chair podcast. And this is episode 3, so thank you for stopping by. And I'd like to introduce my guest tonight. It's actually a cousin of mine from the USA. I'd like to welcome Chris DeMello. Brother, thank you for coming on board and talking with me tonight.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited to do this with you today.
It's always a pleasure. Like, we haven't seen each other pre-COVID, and you know, it is horrible on how we could not travel and see you guys. But listen, we've got means of like expressing ourselves virtually and talking on the phone or texting. So it's always great to see that. This is, like I said, episode 3, and just want to let everyone know why the creation of the Noisy Chair happened. People wanted to share their story, their concerns, and being loud. I'm here to listen, have an opinion, talk to people. Sometimes I don't give a shit about it, or else I do. It's all in good fun, and it's just being open, right? So that's what it's all about. So listen, man, it's been a long time. We haven't seen you guys, and we obviously missed you guys, and hopefully, we will eventually start to open up the border that we can come across, or you guys come on up, and it'll be great to finally get back in the swing of things, right?
Absolutely. It's been way too long. I believe it's been about 6 years since we've actually seen each other.
Shit.
I know.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy. Like, your kids are growing fast like weeds, and you and Jess look great, so it's been awesome. We need to get you up here so you can come to some of my parties. We got time so that you come to some of my parties up here. You do. You
we like to dance, and we love music, so we would be there.
Oh yeah, I know, and that's why I try to incorporate, because I love music and being a DJ, and I love your story, and you are into music, and so it all goes hand in hand, and I'm excited to sit down with you and chat with you, and it's great. So and I have, let me see if I can pull it up here. I have my wine tonight, where's my camera? That's my wine tonight. So it's a nice Ontario red. It's called Smooth Red by Open, so it's pretty good. I don't want to get sloshed tonight, but I do like to pour heavily in it. So, and I hope you're enjoying some too.
I sure am. Always do.
That's the thing. Always do.
Always do.
Oh yeah. So it's all good. It's all good. Listen, I wanted to get you on here because you recently started to speak openly online on Facebook. I don't know if any other platforms you're on, but on Facebook, creating a group that focuses on parent discussions around your family life. So I'm impressed about it. I think more you're focusing on. You have 2 beautiful children, Gavin and Nate. So your son Gavin has been diagnosed with what form of autism is he diagnosed with? Tell us a bit about this.
Okay, so at an early age of 3, Gavin was diagnosed on the autism spectrum. So there isn't a certain type of autism. Autism is a spectrum. He is okay. If he was clinically diagnosed with a name, it would have been Asperger's, but they don't use that anymore. So they typically just go with ASD. So he has Autism Syndrome. Autism Syndrome.
Why do they do that? Yeah, no, listen. Why do they take away the name of it?
Well, because everybody's so different who is on the spectrum with autism. So Asperger's is a type or I won't even say a type. It has certain symptoms to it. Right. But anybody who's on the spectrum has symptoms of autism. So it can be from flailing all over the place to outbursts to meltdowns, anything like that. So they really took away the labels and just made it ASD.
Okay. I guess that's probably better that way because people, at least up here, they're very quick to judge the diagnostics of it, and it's like, I don't know. I don't know if it's the same thing down there, and maybe that's why they just, they classify it ASD opposed to figuring out. But there's some people who are so quick to judge. Oh, this guy's, this kid's got, some issues or whatever it may be, and no, seriously, I'm not saying it in a bad way, but like
Absolutely, no.
there's people that quickly judge.
And Dave, let me tell you, Jess and I were one of those people. We would go to the store and we would see a kid acting out, and we thought, Jesus, could you control your kid? Could you discipline them? And that's before we knew that Gavin was on the spectrum, and now we see life through totally different eyes. So it's amazing what these kids and adults can bring to your life.
Man, it's true. I mean, I guess it really changes a lot in the sense of like how your family functions. Things change, right? And so going back to the group, tell me more about your thoughts about creating this group on Facebook.
So I think that as a parent of an autistic child, or anybody who parents autistic children, excuse me, the wine's kicking him. Our lives become so engrossed in parenting those kids, right, or all our kids for that matter. So it's it changes your whole life, but it also changes your priorities. You are no longer a priority at anything. They become the priority. So in starting this group, it was more of a outlet so that we could say, hey, just so you can even get on and say, hey, today sucked. It was the worst day ever. This is why, or just to have an outlet for people to say, how they're feeling, what they're doing great, what they're doing bad, how they're feeling about it, get some, ideas, questions, anything like that.
Right. I think that's, it's wonderful that you can express your thoughts on just daily issues and just face them head on, and also share them with everyone, as well as them sharing with you, their daily life. Fuck, I can't stand this day. This day was crazy. And it just, God knows we have a ton of struggles in our life and at home. I mean, Christ, we deal with it every day. It doesn't matter how your children are if they're diagnosed or not diagnosed, there's always fucking some type of mental issues or mental concerns that, that we all face, and we all try to cope and we try to understand on how to cope with it. Right. So, being a parent, dealing with the daily livelihood and routine of household, we also grasp at the reality and struggles we face as the family grows, as your kid grows, your children grow, things change, and it's it does not say it takes a toll on you, but you are like overwhelmed, exhausted. The liquor store or local packaging store is loves you, probably knows you by your first name. So you never know,
they
right?
Actually deliver now, so it's wonderful.
All right, we got a case for Chris DeMello.
There we go. Right, just leave it at the front door.
Oh yeah,
but it's autism isn't something to run away from anymore. It's something that used to be very taboo, I think. And I think the more you educate people on it or even talk about it, the more help you can, as a parent, get from either family, friends. Jess and I have always been of the parents that let everybody know what's going on with Gavin. And we can clearly say that we're blessed with our neighborhood, that we know that if we let him go out and play, that there are eyes on him all the time, and they understand what's going on with him. It's not it's not something they're running out yelling at him because he's doing something that they think is wrong when it's not,
But I'm pretty sure that it was different way back when in our childhood days, because they didn't know what this was. Right. So they would yell at you for shit that that
They
listen, this
they
is
didn't.
right. So they didn't know. So I'm glad that people are starting to realize and are
Absolutely. I think
somewhat
that's
educated. You know,
Let's go with the somewhat
um,
educated.
so
Uh, and there's not a lot of education. There is a lot of resources out there, but there's not a
right,
lot of education until you actually talk with people that have been through it.
right,
Because, like I said, every kid, every adult on the spectrum is different. So every way of handling those people are different.
right.
You know, my brother Craig, and his son is also autistic, and he's very, very different than
I did
Gavin.
not know. I
Even in
did not know.
Yes, so even in how we handle, like Jess and I, when we were with him, we handled him the way we thought we knew how with Gavin, and it
Hmm.
turned out to be the complete opposite of for him. It melted him down.
Gotcha.
Where we thought we were doing right, it was completely opposite. So it's
Hmm.
different for every single person.
Now, how is it uh, um is it hereditary? Is it something? How does this happen? How does that happen in a family
So
life?
they do say that it is hereditary, and it's typically from the father's side um, of the family. So
Okay,
that would make sense with both me and my brother having an autistic child. So
gotcha.
we know it must have stemmed from us,
Okay,
and it's a neurological disorder. It's not. Um, there's nothing that you can change with it. There's no cure for it.
gotcha. Yeah, I didn't know that. I like to. The reason why I'm asking because I don't know a lot about it, and
Mhm.
there we have some friends that have children who are dealing with it or coping with it, and they're in university now, and they're doing great. I mean, it's fantastic, right? So I love it as long as and I know that these families are 100% in on trying to make it work for them and helping them, and that's part of that equation so that they can understand and have a successful upbringing, and
And
academic.
And that would be with any child. I mean, whether they're on the
Sure.
spectrum or not.
Right.
But having a child on the spectrum, you have to advocate more for them,
Right.
and you're teaching them through routine. And um, a lot of times, well, at least with Gavin, it's something doesn't sink in until they want it to sink in.
Ah. Okay.
So everything is repetitive,
Hmm.
repetitive, repetitive, and then one day he'll say, "Hey, I want to do that," and then he
Right.
can do it. But it's
Mm.
all on their terms.
Right. It's on their terms.
Yeah.
What's the feedback been like online from people that you speak to?
Well, so far I'm up to 200 followers, which I was amazed that I was even up to that many people thus
Fantastic. It's
far.
great.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's nothing but encouragement. I have
Hmm.
people that have kids that are on the spectrum that are like, we
Right.
needed something like this just to even listen to what you have
Sure.
to say, even if we don't say anything, just
Right.
to listen, to know that we're not alone, that we're not doing a bad job, that we all make freaking mistakes. And, that's
Absolutely.
part of parenting. But I think
Right.
for parents on the that have kids on the spectrum, I think 99% of us feel like we've failed in some way,
Mm.
um, because we can't get through to our kids, and they're not atypical.
Right.
They're, they like to be called. I forget the name that I have to look that up. That they don't like to be called that they're on the spectrum. Um, I can't remember what it's called. I had another podcast that I was on listening to, and it's
Hmm.
I can't remember. I'll look it up and I'll let you know.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know enough, or else I would have belted it out for you. But I don't know enough of it. Do you sometimes get when parents are talking to you? Do you sometimes feel some denial, from them?
Jess and I have become extremely savvy on picking up whether we think a kid is on the spectrum or not, or even
Right.
if it's just ADHD.
Right.
but we can point them out because
Mm.
of their mannerisms and the stimming that they do or
Gotcha.
something like that. But it's typically, you can usually tell. And I think we do find that there's a lot of people that don't realize that it's
Hmm.
autism,
Okay.
especially if they have young kids. Because I can tell you from our story, Jess and I, Gavin was our firstborn.
Hmm.
So we didn't know any better, right? So
Okay.
he was delayed on things, but he was also 10 pounds when he was born. So we just thought that because he had a big head and he was larger
Hmm.
than most babies, that he just was delayed in
Okay.
that because of size. But the more we found out, we didn't find out till he was in preschool. We
Okay.
just thought he was the best kid ever. He's our baby, and then he
Yep.
went to preschool
Hmm.
and we put him into an integrated program. So if anybody has an opportunity to put their children into an integrated program, and what that is here in the States is that we put him into a program for preschool that put him with kids that had disabilities.
Okay.
So we as parents were like, we want our kids to grow up knowing there's no race, color, disability,
Right.
that people are just people.
Right.
And the teacher, after him going for a month or two, brought us in and said, I think your son is autistic. And I told her to
Okay.
go fuck herself. Literally.
Oh,
I
jeez.
literally said that to the teacher. Like,
You did.
this is my
Go fuck
perfect
yourself.
child. Go fuck yourself. And
Yeah.
then the next day I went back and apologized and asked
Oh
about what
boy.
I could do to help him. And she was 100% the best person we ever had with Gavin
Yeah.
as far as
Hmm.
that goes, because she understood where I was coming from and
Right.
she helped us along the path to get him in the right
Yeah.
direction. So
Gotcha.
you do
She.
have denial.
Oh, you do. We all listen. We all do. Okay,
Yeah.
we all do. And I'm sure that she was like, "You're not the first person that told her to go fuck herself, right?" So,
Exactly. Exactly.
but
Exactly.
yeah, I mean,
But
yeah. Go ahead.
you do. You protect your kids. You don't want to hear anything
Yeah.
bad about them and whatever. But,
Right.
once you get past that part of denial, that's when you start to wake up and say, now it's time to step up.
Right.
And what do I need to do for my child so he
Right.
becomes as atypical as possible?
Reality sets in now, and it's like, okay, we got to. How are we gonna do this now? We got to deal with it. So we deal with it. How's it? How's his brother holding up with all this?
You mean the devil child?
Where does that come from?
We call him the devil child, but I think, again, with parents that have
Yeah.
children who are autistic, your time goes into that child so much that you
Okay.
tend to not give as much focus to the child who's atypical.
Normally
So
natural, I guess.
there,
It's natural.
it's natural. Like he'll ask who's your favorite,
Oh,
dad? And I'm like, I don't
jeez.
have
Okay.
favorites because they're both
Right.
different. But
Right.
I think now that he's older and understands it more,
Hmm.
he acts out to make sure he gets his share of the attention from both Jess and I. Um,
Gotcha.
so we really have to approach everything with him even differently because we can't, he's acting out because he wants our attention. So we have to
Right.
approach discipline very differently than what I would normally do.
Sure.
Um,
Of course.
I came from a strict household, so I run a strict
Yeah.
household. So,
Yeah. Right.
he knows that when he's in trouble, he's going to have my attention one way or another.
Right.
So we
Right.
really had to tailor that.
Yeah. No, of course, man. Was your beautiful mom, was she the strict one or was your dad the strict one?
She was the strict one until we didn't listen, and then she got my dad involved, and then it was you ran for the hills.
Oh yeah.
And
I
his
remember those
stubborn
days.
Portuguese,
Oh yeah.
he's a
Yeah.
stubborn Portuguese, so he would not forget either. So,
They don't.
but
They don't.
yes,
Come on, Michelle,
I
my
I
wife.
try
You
and
don't.
tell my kids. They have
You
it
try.
lucky because
Oh yeah. Well, I think that they do have it lucky because of the fact that back then our parents, which are probably second generation immigrants, and so it's different from their parents on how it was because life changes, life gets a way different. Technology changes, the social aspect changes. The whole just life generally changes. So we fall into that, or we actually not fall into it, but we go along with it. This is what it is going to be, right? So yes, your parents will still be strict, but but chilled like us, we sort of like push back a little bit, and push the border a bit. Like, how can we like still fucking get them all mad, but still not, and still get away with it, type of thing. So now it's like, you look at it today, it's like parents today, and I'm not going to veer off from the conversation, but we see parents how they don't give a shit of what goes on with their kids, behind the Xbox, weed at a younger age, and we've been there. I've seen it. We've all done it. So
Yeah.
I'm sure it's the same similarities down there, in life.
Absolutely. I wouldn't want to be a kid nowadays with the pressures of social media and all that. No
Oh,
way. And my kids are not allowed on social media. They have their Xbox and they can communicate through that with their friends when
right.
they're playing, but
Good.
they don't have Facebook, they don't have Twitter, they don't have any of that stuff, because I think
Good.
it's just too much for them at this age.
It is. It's overwhelming, and it actually does put a little bit of mind control in these kids on on how to deal with their issues, like certain trigger points, certain angers, like whatever it may be. I still think I believe in the old school way. I'm always in my kids' faces. I'm always talking to my boys. My boys, now they're men now. And it's like I still talk to them. I mean, like, both of them have girlfriends. Actually, all three now have girlfriends, and so it's like I'm like, oh my god, like, this is crazy. So that but I'm always in their face. Hey man, how's it going? What's going on? Everything cool? Everything's good? How's your day?
I think you have to be. And Jess and I always, our house is a safe zone. We've always said, anything you need to tell us, anything you want to say to us, you say it at home. And there'll be consequences if mom and dad think there needs to be consequences.
Right.
But we want you to tell us everything and anything that's going on.
Right.
And for the most part, the devil child will try and lie. But then Gavin will tell us everything. So we really have our pulse on the house, but we encourage that. We want them to be that, like when they get to the age of what's going on with sex and drugs and alcohol and all that they ask the right questions. And, Gavin and I had that talk. Him and I went for an hour and a half drive because he didn't want Jess to hear anything. And autism, for anybody that knows, is a very literal. They're very literal.
Okay. All right.
So so we went for a drive, and Gavin now knows what everything does, where it goes, all that kind of stuff when it comes to sex. Because we didn't want him going to school and being that kid that they're joking about something and he thinks he knows what it is and says something and then gets made fun of, because they're already socially awkward.
It's true. They are. All of them are. Every single one of them are all socially awkward. Okay.
Right.
Whether it's bullying online or just making conversation on text, but how about just pick up a fucking phone and calling that person opposed to texting them, right? That's what we teach. We try to teach our kids that, but it's all like that. I mean, I'm like, this thing is always around me. It's horrible. It's horrible, but it's and yes, I have a problem. So, it's like that.
Don't we?
Right. My entire work, like my 3 businesses are all on this phone. Right. So,
and if we lose them, we're like, oh my God, I can't.
Right. I know. It's crazy. It's crazy. Tell us a bit on how your typical day rolls out from the morning.
Are you ready?
Hey man.
So
we got time, buddy. We got time.
We got plenty of time. I got nowhere to be in a full bottle. So
nice.
So basically our morning starts pretty early, around 6:30 a.m. every morning, because Gavin has to get the bus earlier than Nathan for school. But in our house, it's a very routine driven household because of autism. So Gavin has a visual chart that we use every morning, and that's just to get him up, get him dressed, get his shoes on, get his backpack, get his teeth brushed, and get his coat on to get out the door. So he has to go
Okay.
through this visual chart and check it off when he finishes.
Awesome. That's awesome, man.
It is. And it helps us keep him on track, because if we don't have that visual chart in place, then
Mhm.
it becomes, well, what do I do now? Or he'll just stand in the hallway and just
Okay.
wait for direction.
Mm. Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
it's, and that's just getting ready for school.
That's just for school.
That's just for school. So then,
Okay.
we get home and he goes to school for the day so we can breathe for a few hours while we go to work and do
Right.
that thing. And then we come home and start all over, and it becomes the night thing. He doesn't have a nightly chart to go through because we kind of want to give him some freedoms.
Right.
We redid our kitchen, and something that's important with kids with autism to help them become self-sufficient is put things at their level so they can get to snacks, bowls, cereal, the milk, even changing the things in the refrigerator. Where we had milk at the top, you put it at the bottom.
Right. Right.
It's stuff to help yourself just
Hmm.
make your life easier. But homework is the next step. He gets home, he's allowed to have a snack, and then by then we're home. So then we start homework. And with autism, homework can take up to 3 hours for a 15-minute assignment. So we spend
Holy
many
sh-
hours
wow.
refocusing, letting him stim in the middle of it, or we'll
Yeah.
set a timer and say, okay, work on it for 5 minutes. After the timer
Hmm.
goes off, get up, stim, come back, and we'll set another timer,
Okay.
so that they have an outlet. And again, home is his safe place.
Right.
So imagine with a kid with autism that we have taught over the 13 or 10 years that he's been diagnosed,
Hmm.
is that when you're outside of the house, you have to be composed. You have to be, you know, I don't want to say normal because that's not a word we use in our house.
Okay.
Everybody's normal,
Fair
but
enough. Yeah.
take someone with autism who needs to stim and needs to do all these things, and it's like taking a rubber band on a pencil and
Hmm.
winding it up, and then when they get home, let it go. It just wings around and just
Wow.
all over
Okay.
the place. So he will stim for a half hour at a time, and he'll stim
Okay.
3 to 4 times throughout the night, where and
Right.
he's old enough now that he knows what he needs to do. He'll just say, I gotta go stim for a little bit, and he runs around the house
Okay.
with the dog chasing him.
Sure.
And then night comes, and they have his nightly routine where he has to, he needs to do his teeth and his
Right.
pajamas. And
Right.
unfortunately, he does wear an overnight because they don't have the control yet, and he doesn't
Sure.
have that control yet. So
Okay.
it's, you do things to make your life easy. Sometimes they're embarrassing for
Right.
them, but we got to do them.
Well, you got to do it, and obviously Jess has obviously been very supportive, and I know she is,
Oh
and
God.
and it's like I'm, do you both divide and conquer, or you do it all together?
You have to. You have to divide and conquer. And I say that as a couple. I feel
Hmm.
very not sad. I don't want to say sad, but we're very fortunate that we are a couple that have made it. There's a lot of parents of autistic children that don't make it, and I
Mm,
think it's because they are not a team. And
right.
Jess will tell you all the time that her and I, we make a great team when it comes to our kids because we're on the
Hmm.
same page. We can
Sure.
see each other's signs too. I'm like, if I
Hmm.
see signs that she's getting extremely frustrated with Gavin because right now he's in a cycle of being in his head, and it's all
Okay.
about, did I do something wrong? Am I a good kid,
Right.
dad? And that's
Right.
every 5 minutes, Dave. It's not
It is,
you would
eh?
ask and say, hey, am I doing something wrong? You say no, we move
Mm-hmm.
on. Every 5 minutes I feel like I'm
Mm.
doing something wrong. So you have to know the signs in your partner, and when you see those signs, you step in and take over and let them have a breather. So we do that quite often between the two of us, and I actually am Gavin's person. So when it comes to
Okay.
talking and things like that, he prefers to talk to myself.
Okay.
He'll talk to Jess too, but
Hmm.
when it comes to his serious talks, like he'll talk to me. So
That's
when
awesome.
when they want candy and food, they go to Jess.
When they want to talk about sex, they go to dad, you know?
Yes, and they know they'll get an open and honest answer with that,
Oh
and
my
that's one
God.
thing, again, always in my book, in our house, I know he's only 12, but open and honest
Open and
is
honest.
our that's what we do here, you know?
I gotta say, is that your dog snoring in the background?
It is. He
I can
snores
hear him.
louder than I do. I'm sorry.
I thought it was your breathing. Like, you know.
No, I thought maybe it was Jess in the background, but no, it's the dog. It's Wrangler.
That is awesome. That is hilarious. That is
Yeah, he's
hilarious.
amazing.
Well, you know what? And I'm glad you figure out, the points of like your partner, if you sense something going down or you sense something wrong or just, repetitive and it's not going anywhere, then, you guys can act and know how to handle it. That is the number one thing that I think works great, is having a partner that you can work together with. Right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely a plus.
Oh my God. No, I know. And it's, with, I'm just going to spin it back a bit,
Sure.
with the music side of things, and, being a music guy, being a DJ, a major, music is a major factor in how I deal with things, because I mean, listen, I think that everyone has a different form of mental health that we all deal with. And I could, and listen, I mean, I speak to a lot of people, and a lot of people do choose music as a direction or a tool, as a great coping mechanism. And I'm gonna put it back on my kids, is like, and sometimes I always wonder, like, I'm like, I always like to analyze things. So it's like, my kids get in the car, you know, and right away they put their phone on to music and they listen to the music. Like, why can't, so I say, stop, let's have a conversation, right? But the first thing they do is they will go and put music on to their phone and listen to music, whether it's tuning dad out or just coping with something in their head. I don't know, but music does have a huge effect to it, right? So
Mhm.
I don't know if I mean, your kids are young to have the phones and the music and that sort of stuff, but I experience that now.
They're not.
If they do have phones.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Gavin's in the middle school, takes the bus, so we have to track him and make sure he gets home and
Gotcha.
stuff like that.
Okay,
But
that's a good point. That's a good point.
yes, but music is extremely big in our house. You know, my wife, she's gangsta, so
Yes,
she
gangsta
loves all
bitch.
that
She
stuff.
is. Yes.
She loves it,
Oh yeah.
and my kids love it too. So we've always had. We still have a sign in our house that this kitchen is open for dancing. So
Nice.
we always have music on.
Oh
The
man, I
devil
love it.
child, I should stop calling him the devil child, but Nathan,
Yeah.
Nathan is built like my wife when it comes to music. He
Okay.
can remember the lyrics to almost every song that he knows, just like Jess. And Gavin, he loves music just as much. Like the two of them this year for Christmas, they got JBL portable speakers that they could clip on their backpacks and all this kind of
Nice.
stuff.
Yeah.
And where are they? They're in the bathroom when they're taking showers. They hang it on the shower
Oh
rack
my
and they're
God,
just
they
they're
do that here too.
oh my god, and they're singing away. Um,
Yeah.
it's and they listen to everything. It's not like they
Yeah.
just listen to the gangsta music that they have. They
Yeah.
love,
Right.
Sinatra and all that kind of stuff. So it's
Sure, man.
music's
Absolutely.
an outlet for them. I think they sing, they forget about their troubles for a
Right.
little bit, and you know, so we
Great
all
way to
do it.
put it. Great way to
Yeah,
say it, an outlet. That's a great way
yeah.
to say it. And trust me, you can spit out fucking lyrics too. So don't say that. You don't even say anything about yourself. You can spit out the lyrics. I remember when before you guys were even married, and you would come up and visit us, and you
Oh
would
my
just
god.
like every '90s song that came out, you're just belting the lyrics on. I'm like, motherfucker knows
I
all this
still
shit.
remember
Look at him, man.
Shaggy shagging in the bathroom
Shaggy. Oh
floor
my.
at your house, your first house.
Oh my God, I remember that. I remember that.
Yes. Oh my
Oh my
god.
God. That
But
is
yeah,
hilarious.
music
That
plays
is
a big
hilarious.
part.
Oh no,
Yep.
it does. Of course, man. I remember I took you to the Eaton Center, and what'd you do? You bought some crazy ass Louis Vuitton bags that you had
Oh,
to
shut
buy
up.
from. Does Jess even know about this? Am I going to create a problem? Am I going to
Oh
create
my,
like?
no, there's no problem. I built a closet just for them, so
Yeah.
she'll be fine.
That
She
is
thought I was building a
hilarious.
closet for her, but it was to store all my bags.
I believe you, man. I believe you. Oh my
Yeah.
god, that is
And if you
hilarious.
ask the boys, this is a funny story and true story. They'll
Mhm.
ask you if the house is ever on fire, what are you grabbing first? And I said my Louis bags and my dog. And they all looked at me and they said, "Well, what about us?" And I'm like, "Well, that's a given, isn't it?" I'm like,
Yeah, of
"You're old
course.
enough to know how to get out of the house."
But the first thing, the LVs and the dog,
That's right.
for sure, for
That's
sure.
right.
Oh my god, that is awesome. I'm glad you introduced music to in your household, because you both are music fans, and you enjoy music, and you would incorporate that, and I would incorporate that in your daily life, and with your kids too, which is fantastic. The shower thing is awesome, because that's exactly what my kids do. They put it in the shower, blasting it,
It's
so
amazing. And we sit downstairs drinking our cocktails and listening to them sing while they shower. What's better
what
than
is it?
that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, when is like an alone time for you guys?
Never.
Never.
Honestly, like that's a struggle we've had a lot.
Right, right. Not
And
on a
for
serious note. It is a serious thing too. So
it is a struggle. I mean, now that Gavin's of age, more of age to stay alone,
right.
um, we now can at least go to dinner alone, or
Okay.
we just run to the store alone. But honestly, we were just talking about this year, the start of the year, that um, Jess and I have not been away on a weekend alone since Gavin was born, and that's tough to say, but that's, the other side of autism is that you become a parent that learns how to handle their kids, but not everybody knows how to take care of that child for you. So, and
Right.
you can't trust that. Now we have,
Mm,
grandparents and some siblings that will absolutely take them. So we now are going to try and venture out this year. That's a goal of ours this year, is to go away
nice.
for our 15-year anniversary. So we're going to try that. But that's
Amazing.
why, on my Facebook page, that we try to, and when I had a talk, it was one of them, is really to build your village, because it's important to
Mm,
have those supports. We didn't have those supports when Gavin was younger, and I think it was because autism was still new back then, and
right.
not out as much. And I think people just didn't understand it. So
Mhm.
it was hard to get even family on board with the fact that, well, he looks totally normal. He acts totally normal. Like, I don't understand why you
Right.
can't do this or that. And it's like, well, you don't see everything.
Mm,
And most parents with autistic kids, they're teaching their kids that when we're out in public, we behave a certain way, and home
mhm.
is their safe zones. And,
Right.
so
That's
yeah.
awesome. What about, like, kids when you're not around, and kids with the kids? Do kids recognize these concerns?
I don't think they did at first, but again, I think by being open as parents to other parents, and we did have actually a time in the neighborhood where all the kids were together, and we told the parents that if they have any questions or they want to ask anything, please feel free. And some of them
Mhm.
did. They asked what autism was and what makes Gavin
Cool.
different. And
Good.
and really, it is nothing. They're not different. They're just,
Mhm.
their brains work differently.
Right.
Their brains work differently and stuff like
Sure.
that. So it's not a fact of they're different per se,
Right.
um, but it
I wasn't
just
trying to I
they're
wasn't trying to say that they're, the difference of it. Just wanna
no,
I
no.
wanted the kids to understand and recognize that, opposed to, like, trying to get into, like, they don't know, or the bullying aspect of it, right?
Right, and that's why we say it's, I found that term. It's neurologically diverse is what they like to be called. They don't
Okay.
like to be called atypical, but
Okay.
neurologically diverse.
Right. Okay. All right.
But I think
Sure.
it's, again, the more that you know, and early on. So a lot of his friends in elementary school,
Hmm.
they did know that he was autistic, and we did
Good.
go back and we actually addressed it with the school, and that if there was
Mm,
questions, there was books that we would send in for the school to read about autism and everything like that. So they knew that he was
right.
autistic, and now that he's in the middle school, a lot of
Hmm.
those kids that he was in elementary school look out for him, you know. So
Awesome.
I think it's important. It's important to get the information out there about your children, whether they're
Hmm.
on the spectrum or not. If there's
Right.
things they need help with, that's what the village is there for.
And this village is more of your network of community that you deal with as parents, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And just our neighborhood, our friends, anybody that we come into, we used to just say it in restaurants. If we were out in restaurants and we had him in headphones and his iPad, that was sometimes the only way we could go out to dinner where he wouldn't melt down. And, you get people staring and things like that. And I'm not an asshole. I can be, but I would just turn around and be like, "Well, my son is autistic, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask." Because I
That's a
think again,
great way to say it, man.
yeah, and it's that judgment. It's that
Right.
prejudging of things like that. And
Yeah.
even when we would go to Target, if he melted down on the floor, I would, I'd stand there and wait, because sometimes you just have to wait. And they'd walk by and they're
Yeah.
like, "Jesus, take care of your kid." And I'm like, "I am. He's melting
Yeah.
down because he's autistic. If you know a way to help, we're glad to take suggestions, and not be an
Awesome.
asshole about it."
Right.
So yeah.
You want to tell them. You
Oh,
want to
you do.
say,
I want to go
would
say
you
fuck
get
off, but but unfortunately, I gotta be,
No, I
I got
know.
kids. I gotta
Of
act
course.
proper.
Yeah. No, listen, we could make, it's good to make, it's good to, lighten everything and just, and not make it so that it is a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's like, it doesn't matter what it is. I mean, I see people and their kids struggle with autism. I see them struggle. I should say struggle. You can see you can see that they're having concerns with mental health, and
Hmm.
there's trigger points that I know that I can see that with other people. Whether it be like weed, or it could be alcohol, it could be just the tone of voice, it could be out of routine. These trigger points is something that is, I think, to be honest with you, in my opinion, and I'm not a fucking doctor at all, but I see it that during COVID and during our lockdown, during our time that people have to be inside, they start to really socially decline in just talking to people. They shut down, and the fuse is pretty short on them, and they start to lose control easier. So that's why I like to recognize that, and I'll shut off certain things in the house and say, let's go outside and play basketball, play some hockey, or whatever it's going to be. Get some air. Fuck, just get
Yeah.
some air. Go outside, get some air. Little things like that really help out. So I mean, I noticed that during COVID, that people's fuse are short, trigger points are quick, and that sort of stuff. Have you noticed that on any difference in that during COVID?
Well, educationally, yes, because that was very
Sure.
difficult when you talk about going virtual versus live.
Right.
So that
Right.
was just hell on wheels.
Hmm. Of
But
course it is.
yeah, but from a standpoint of getting out of the house and doing things like that, we have a Jeep Wrangler. I don't know if you knew that, but that's why we named our dog Wrangler.
Wrangler.
Yep. We will just put the top down when it's nice out, and we call them going on adventures. So everybody piles in, we put the top down, we put the music loud, and we just drive. We've ended up in
Love it.
Massachusetts, New York. We're heading to
I
New
love
Jersey
it.
this summer, and then we hit the GPS to get us home. But
Yeah.
we've seen more of Connecticut and parts of the state that we would never normally go,
Hmm.
and
I
they
love that.
enjoy it. Like, you can see behind me, we have a sign that says, it's opposite when I do it says travel. So
Yeah.
we're really we're putting in the office here all pictures of stuff that we do when we go jeeping.
Good.
Um,
Good.
and it's an outlet
Jeeping.
for all of us. Jeeping.
Yeah.
We're going
Jeeping.
jeeping. but it's something that all four of us love to do. And we have a blast doing it, and it puts down the electronics, and it gets us all to talk a
Right.
little bit, or just
Right.
even just get out there and see things.
It's an escape. That for
Yes.
all of you guys is an escape.
Yes.
Just being
It's a
together as a
good one.
family. It's a good escape, man. Of
It's a
course.
great escape.
Oh my God, I love it. And yeah, like I'm gonna go back to the online talk group that you
Sure.
have here, the parent side of autism. You'll find it on Facebook, and I will post those up at the end of our podcast so people can tune in and talk to you, reach out to you. They're okay to reach out with on your email address on that's listed on the Facebook. That's correct, right? No problem.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love it because it's like I doesn't matter about the 200 followers. It's matter of like how many engage with you about it. That is the most organic thing that you want to see. I don't give a shit about how many followers I have.
Right.
It's all organic. It's about they follow you because you're genuine, you're true, you have something to say, and I always say it, and like every podcast I always say, if I can help that one person, my job's done. I'm good.
I
I love it.
agree. And
I'm
Jess
happy
and
about
I
it.
feel like Jess and I feel like we've been very blessed with family and friends that have helped us with Gavin. So we just want to give back. And it's,
Right.
how do you give back? We can do a million walks that raise money for autism and stuff like that. But
Right.
when it comes down to brass tacks, it's, how can I help someone else who's out there who has the same lifestyle that we have, and
Right.
maybe struggling with something, or how can they help me for that matter?
Sure.
So that's why we
Absolutely.
really started it.
That's great. I mean, um, you're building your goal as in this venture is where the parents could come to you and talk, vent, to make them sure that they're not alone. You're there, right?
Correct. Yep.
You know,
I don't
and it's
have a medical degree. I can't diagnose somebody, but
right.
we can definitely, even if they think their kid is on the spectrum, we can definitely give them direction, which I think
Perfect.
is important, because that's something that helped us through it, was giving
Mhm.
direction and getting some ideas of at least
Good.
where to start, because sometimes the kids don't come with a manual. None do. And when you're
No.
trying to figure out where do you start to try and get a diagnosis so that you can get
Right.
services, and make sure that they're as mainstream as possible,
Yeah.
sometimes you just need somebody who's been through it.
Very true, man. You said it perfectly. Um, Now, I love hearing your dog in the background. It's fucking awesome. But
He sleeps better than all of us.
with exactly, and that's my next thing is like with your busy schedule, like how much time are you, how much time are you putting in this per day?
um right now, because it's still new, I'm still
Mhm.
getting my arms around it. So right now I put in a few hours a week into it right
Okay,
now,
right,
because I don't really know where I'm going with it yet.
sure,
I want people to give me ideas, what they want to hear, give me some topics, or just reach out and ask questions that I can hopefully give my
hmm,
opinion on.
yeah.
It's always opinion. I'm not a doctor. Again, I will state
Oh, of course,
that.
man. I know this. I
um,
totally get it, man.
so it's really like, I would love to give it more. Actually, I got your notes today, and I'm like, Jess, I need to be more organized like this. Like, because sometimes it's me just sitting down and saying, hey, this is how I feel, and sometimes you're going to
Right.
get that on
Yeah.
my thing. But I want to get some more structure to it as well. But
Sure.
like I said, it's me sitting down right now and venting, and just
Yeah.
saying what our story is, and where we're
Right.
trying to go
Right.
with it, and that kind of stuff. So
Well, as long as like if you can talk by yourself to people and not have a guest with you, and you're just talking openly in front of people, and I'm saying online in your Facebook group, that is a big step because it is tough to rhyme off things and without any feedback from anybody. Okay. Yes, they could be typing back saying, "Oh yeah, what, I get it, man. I get this." But when you're doing your live feeds, it gets recorded. Try to keep it. Try to not. yeah, you can have the option of, I guess, deleting in 30 days or keeping it for forever.
Mhm.
I would keep it so people can go back
Yep.
and review it, right? And especially with this podcast, with this link to podcast, I would love it if you uploaded it to your Facebook page, which you can. It's very easy to do.
Absolutely. You'll send
You
me
know,
that link and I will upload
oh
it.
yeah, for sure. I mean, and it's
Absolutely.
not just for me. It's not just for me. It's more for
No.
people to hear both sides and hear that, you have a voice that you want to say, and you want to vent, you want to just like fucking just let loose and just say, this is, I got a problem today, man, because someone is going to say, you know what, you're right, man. I like, my kid was driving me crazy today. This is because of this,
Yeah.
so it's a good conversation piece, and conversations obviously go well with alcohol. So I'm sure that your wine consumption has increased dramatically, you know.
Hmm.
So it does. Listen, it does it in my household, and yeah. I mean, I think just generally COVID has raised the bar up high for the packaging stores, liquor stores, for the alcohol, right?
I
And
told
now they
Jess,
did deliver, right?
yeah, I told Jess it's sad that our liquor bill is always higher than our grocery bill. But if we're counting calories, we're going liquid.
Is that a problem? Is that a problem that your alcohol bill is more than your
No,
groceries?
I
Oh
don't
my
see it
god.
as one. I don't see it as one.
Wait till your kids get older. Wait till your kids get like much older and they will have dinner. And as soon as they're done dinner, all of a sudden the drawer opens. I'm sure it happens to yours right now. They're hungry again. In
Oh my
five
God,
minutes,
that
they're
they're
fucking hungry.
eating me out of house and home. But that's why
Crazy.
we drink. We're like, that's why we drink. But
Oh
it's
my
even more
god.
funny that when we drive by, I shouldn't even say when we drive by, when they're in
Right.
the car with my mother-in-law
Yeah.
and they're driving down the main street, they're like, "Oh, that's where Daddy gets his wine, and that's where Daddy gets his whiskey." And my mother-in-law's like, "What are you teaching them?" I'm like, "I bring them in with me." I'm like, "I need
Right.
more hands." But
Here,
we
kid,
teach
hold
them,
this.
yeah, we teach them responsibility. Like
Oh
we don't hide
man.
anything from them. So
No, exactly. That you shouldn't, and you
no.
shouldn't. Um, are you able to separate work and family life, or is it during
Um,
work? When you're working now, you're still working for Kohl's, correct?
I am 22 years now.
Man, good for
Yeah.
you. Good for you. Now, obviously, with work, you try to focus on work, but obviously, in the back of your head, you're always thinking about just the family life. Correct, right?
Well, family's first and foremost for
Sure,
us.
for
And I
sure.
think I've been fortunate to have a great career with Kohl's, and they've been fantastic with helping me out with that. So my
Good.
store is 5 minutes away from my house. They will not right now move me anywhere because they know of my situation at home and they support
Awesome.
it.
Good.
We have BRGs, so business resource groups through Kohl's.
Okay.
Actually on the autism committee for April with that. So I incorporate my family life into my business life. And
Perfect.
actually my dealings with Gavin helped me
Mhm.
deal with my associates to believe it or not. So some of the ways that I would talk to Gavin to get through to him and give him direction, I use those techniques with my associates because
Good
some of
for
them may
you.
be, they may have ADHD or they may even be on the spectrum.
Sure.
I don't know. I can't
Right.
ask. So
Right.
but and all of us, your work family, I call them my work family because I spend a lot of
Mhm.
time with them. They
Right.
become part of
Right.
it.
Mhm.
So but
Good
it's
for
hard
you,
to
man.
separate my work life because as a store manager I'm available 24/7 for anybody. So
Gotcha. Right. Right. No,
we
and it's
try our
great that,
best.
of course, but it's also great that you've incorporated that, your daily life with family life and being part of groups that you can teach your employees. Because face it, I mean, there's employees that are, that you that are hard to come through, hard to get through to them. You
Yeah.
just have to speak to them in a different way. So
And I think
good for you on that.
what's great about that too is that my associates know that my son is autistic. So again, when it comes to work, I don't hide everything in my private life. I think again,
Right.
the more then they understand why I might be distracted someday or I'm not available someday because actually am taking an IEP at the school or at work because I can't get to the school,
Right.
that kind
Sure.
of thing. So
Sure.
it's a balance, and everything's a balance.
Right. That's good for you, man. I mean, everything is a balance in life, but I'm glad that that, you know, you are balancing everything out and working out in a certain way that you can function somewhat during the day without having to go right to the bottle at 8 a.m., which we feel sometimes we do.
We want to, but we wait till
Oh yeah.
12
Yeah, exactly. We wait till 11. It's 11 o'clock somewhere,
somewhere.
Oh yeah, for sure. Have you thought about, I know we like to talk about the escapes and just expressing ourselves openly. Like I love music as a way to express myself openly, and podcasts. I love talking to people. I love hearing their story about business, life, and music, and I try to incorporate that as a main focus of my podcast. Have you thought about? I know that's very infancy stages of what you're doing, and I commend you. Sometimes I jump ahead a lot, but I mean, I'm very entrepreneurial. And I see what you're doing, and I think I think you can definitely, get into more of the heavy hitter side of things of podcasting
Mhm.
and getting some guests on and people helping out and that sort of stuff. Have you thought about doing that?
I have. It's a goal.
Hmm.
Start small, build it to see where I'm
Right.
comfortable with. I'm
Right.
technically not savvy, so I got to get myself really more. Getting this microphone was like a big thing for me. Like you should have seen the excitement when it
Oh my
arrived on the
God.
desk. I'm like, oh my god, this is really happening. Um,
This
so
is real,
yes, it
Jess.
is.
This is
It
real,
is. This
Jess.
is
Oh my
real,
God.
Jess. And she's like, "You're just gonna put that on the desk, and it's just gonna sit there." And I'm like, "No, it's not." No, she's not. She's actually very supportive of
No,
this
I
and
know.
very
I know
proud of
she's.
it. But yeah, I do. I want to get into the podcast and maybe even TikTok and get onto Twitter and all those things where you
Yeah.
can just go
Yeah.
viral.
Well, freedom of speech, man. Just
Yeah.
say what you want to say, right? And that's what
Yep.
podcasts are great about. Podcasts are so good about saying what you want to say, in a certain way. Like you're not gonna go and talk about how you want to kill somebody, but I mean, it's just a matter of expressing yourselves. Um, that's how I look at it, and people love to watch it. I actually watch Joe Rogan on his podcast all the time. I think he is a fantastic listener, speaker. He loves to just listen to people, and he likes to ask questions that validate things, right? So because sometimes we don't know. Like like I don't know anything. 90% of what autism is about.
Mhm.
I don't know. Like, I mean, as a parent, I know the signs of how to deal with things. I'm not going to go, oh my god, this fucking kid's like, this is crazy. I would never do that as a parent. I would try to say, hey, listen, bud, what's going on? How you doing today? What's going on today? Right? Talk to me.
Yeah.
I would never ignore any signs of any children, teenagers, or adults that would have concerns in the way they're talking to somebody. I step in sometimes. And if they're
Sure.
having, if there's, if that something's going sideways, I always like to, try to step in a bit and see it. Okay, let's just stop this from getting fucking ugly. Right. So we've all been there. We've seen it.
Yeah.
So, and I think the podcast to get into it, what you're doing now, just getting involved by yourself and getting talking to people is perfect. And I think what you're doing is amazing. And I think you got to continue on with it, which you will. Um, you know, so I want to also go and talk about. We did talk about like how it was how this COVID, the pandemic, had schools all academically was all online, and how it changed and breaking that routine must have been difficult for Gavin and for you guys changing that routine. Was that a long struggle to get him back into that routine?
To get him back to school was not a struggle because the bigger struggle was having him home trying
Mhm.
to do a virtual class. So,
Okay.
fortunately for us, we are in a district that has a great school system. So he had supports even online. So they would pull him out of their mainstream class, pull him to a side I don't know what you call it, because again, technically not savvy.
No, I get it.
Like a
Like another
side chat
screen.
room.
Another
Yeah,
chat
like
room. Yeah,
another
for sure.
chat room, and they would
Yeah.
walk him through homework and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
you know, having an IEP, which is an individual education plan, which is normal for kids on the
Right.
spectrum, he gets
Right.
all kinds of, modifications on things. So some of his homework was made easier online than some of the kids had because of his disorder.
Sure. Of course. Of course. And as parents and adults and even teenagers, we're always learning about this. There's never something set in stone on how to deal with autism. Like I don't think so. Is there anything like
No.
right?
The only thing I would ever say about autism is routine, routine, routine. But
Okay.
you think, like Jess and I, this is now, we're going into our third like trimester with him, where we
Right.
say
Sure. You have to.
from 3 to like 6, he was a certain way. And when we thought we had him figured out and we knew how to handle him, he would hit a different stage in his life and
Okay.
completely throw us for a loop. Right. So you learn the
Mm,
new loop, and now he turns 12 and he's going to be 13 next month. He's hit
Jesus.
puberty, and oh my God, we are starting over. It's like starting
You're
over.
right.
It's,
You're absolutely right.
you know, it's almost, he really didn't want me to talk about things, but I'm going to. We went through a lot with COVID and everything. And when he went back to school, we ended up having a crisis call with the school for him. He was having suicidal thoughts.
Oh my
And
God. Shit.
the,
Okay.
the best part, and I don't want to say best part about it, but the great part about it is that because we have an open communication in our house, he told Jess that he was having these thoughts. And of course, we said, go to the counselor, talk to them
Mhm.
about it. So I dropped him off the next day. He talked to the counselor. I got a call 5 minutes later, and we were at the school for 5 hours going through a crisis plan, safety plan, all this kind of stuff. But I think the hormones kicking in and just COVID kicking in, and having all this stuff, the pressure, not even just because he's autistic. I think there's kids that are going through this now
Oh,
that are
I was
having the
good.
same
Yes.
thoughts and stuff.
Yes.
But it's, again, we thought we knew and figured out what we were to do, and he
Mhm.
threw us for a complete loop. And like I said to you earlier, he's inside his head, so we're now dealing with completely new objectives and goals and things
Right.
like that we need to maneuver him through, and
Mhm.
we don't really know what we're doing with that. And that's why, some of this is why I started this podcast, was, who knows, I've been very open on it,
Mhm.
on my page on Facebook, about what he's going through and what he did and
Mhm.
where he is. And he's doing
Sure.
great, by the way. He's in counseling and all
Fantastic.
that kind of stuff.
Good.
So
Good.
it's more of a, hey, I need to vent this out, like, because today really was horrible. And
Right.
and it's
Yeah.
and teenagers get harder to parent as it is. So now we're really like, what the hell do we do?
Hello.
I'm
Exactly.
like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, I don't even know, and I got Jess, anything sexual, he's coming to you and you tell him about it and this and everything. And I'm like, I don't want to tell him about that stuff. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we're open and honest, and
I
you know,
know. I know.
and now we have to be careful, because all the jokes that we used to say, he now understands them.
Mhm.
So it's, oh God, we're in this abyss right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, of course.
And again,
It's
that is why
yeah.
we drink.
It's
That is why we drink.
I want to cheers, buddy. I got to cheers to you, man.
Cheers.
Put that on there. Cheers. Thanks so much. I mean, I love it. And I think I think, with kids that are hitting puberty and that are let's say curious, it doesn't matter who they are. Cheers, buddy. Yes. It
No.
doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter. They're curious. It's just gonna happen. We've been through it. You're going through it. I've been through it. And again, it's like, okay, Michelle, if we're gonna talk about this, you talk about that.
Yeah.
But we've always been like, hey, guys, if you are comfortable talking to mom about things, go right ahead. If you want to talk to dad or you want to talk to both of us, but we are going to talk about it. We're not letting
Right.
this go. Okay. Do not bottle this shit up because it's just not cool. It's not great.
Well,
Right.
and I think that's the most important thing with kids with autism is that you have to be open, honest. They're so literal that if you said, "Hey, babies are made by a stork coming," they're gonna believe
Right.
that, and
Right.
and obviously, we all know that's not how it happens, and
No.
you wanna prepare them for as much as possible and to be
It doesn't
safe
happen
about
that
it.
way. It doesn't happen that
No,
way.
Dave. No, I'm sorry.
Man.
You know the 3 times that you actually never mind. Oop.
Yeah, you're
Sorry,
right.
Michelle.
You're right. You're right.
It's just the more open and honest you are with your kids and the more you can tell them up front.
Yeah.
My mom's way of telling me to have safe sex was, don't forget, I raised my kids. You play, you pay. I'm like, oh
Right.
my God. I'm like,
Right.
I'm afraid. you know, I
I'm
want my
scared.
kids to know what happens.
Right. Exactly.
So
Well, that's the thing. Like you have your own personal tools to
mhm.
helping as they get older. You are creating new tools to make them aware, and you have tweaked them differently to make them understand and help you guys understand. And it's a never ending because we're always doing the same thing. It's never ending. There are always new ways of like development in stages of their lives, right?
That's it. I'm told by my father that, he doesn't stop worrying. He still worries about how we're all doing financially and all that kind of stuff. So it's,
Right.
it never ends. So I'm like, I'll be this way for the rest of my life.
And you know what? And you love it. Okay.
I
You wouldn't
wouldn't
change it,
change
man.
a thing.
No, man. Exactly. I love it. It's great. I'm glad that you're incorporating music in it. I'm glad that Jess still loves the old school shit because that's what she's when you guys come up here, man. We're gonna plan it. It's gonna be great. I can't wait to see you guys. We miss you guys. We love you guys. And there's I have a cantina full of wine that you guys are more than welcome to having up here. So
Be careful what you say, Dave.
I'm good, buddy. I'm totally
I
good with
have a
all
good
this stuff.
tolerance now. Good
Oh,
tolerance.
exactly. Oh, my liver is, don't worry about my liver. It's
Uh,
okay.
who
Um,
needs that?
exactly. Listen, like I said before, I like to talk about the music, the building of your brand, the sharing the journey and life around it that you have, the story you have, and I think it's been great. I've had DJs and multi-Grammy artists and bands that come talking about their life's journeys, and I always and we always talk about how we touch on subjects about how this affects them. There's like, I mean, like, mental illness is a growing concern now. Aside from the autism, the mental illness, and it could be any forms of it, whether it is autism or whether it's this and that, and depression is a big thing with COVID and being shut down and losing a job, losing your family. That shit, you need support from people that you just need support from people.
Absolutely. You do.
It's the only way.
And I think you hit the nail on the head that, no matter what they're going, no matter who you are, no matter whether you have autism or don't have autism, and mental health it's out there, it's very prevalent. And the biggest thing you can do for yourself and for loved ones is communicate. And
Big time.
communication to me is the biggest thing. You have to have communication so that people can help you. And it's nothing to
Right.
be ashamed of. That's the thing that, I think so many people everybody has struggles and
Mhm.
but and it doesn't matter how much money you have and
Exactly.
or don't have. They're just different struggles, but
Yep.
the more you can talk about things and have people that can walk you through or help you through things, the better you are. And that just, then people can watch out for each other too. You have
Right.
somebody who's on the verge of maybe committing suicide, and because they talk to you, you can be aware and check in on them, and
Mhm.
you could save someone's life just by talking.
Oh my God. Communication. That's the thing. And that's why, becoming, because of this being more, as I said, prevalent in everyday conversation, we need that. And like I talk about this all the time when I'm with talking about guests and we go through daily life things, is like, if I see somebody walking, or you make eye contact somebody, you always want to say, hey, how you doing? How's it going today? You know, we always get involved in that, and just that smile or just that expression might say to somebody, fuck, I like, I'm wanted, or I need to talk to somebody, or I want to say something, instead
Yeah.
of holding it in. Like my guest last episode was a good friend of mine, Joey Drex, and he's an advocate for mental health awareness. He actually goes and lectures schools and kids and teenagers about how to cope and deal, and he comes up with different tools of how to do that. And we touched on it. Communication is a big thing. It's so
So
simple,
simple.
right? Right. It's so simple, but it's like, because of this pandemic, these arising issues are happening pretty quick now. So we are all on our toes to understand it more quickly than to say, oh, this guy's having a bad day, don't worry about him, fuck him. But no, it's like, we should catch this quick, man, catch it quick.
Yep.
you know
Catch it
so
quick. And
yeah,
random acts of kindness, just like you said, saying
absolutely.
hello, how's your day going? I work in the service
Yeah,
industry,
right.
and I don't know. I have hundreds of people walk through my doors every day. It's just that eating and saying hello, help you, whatever. It just turns someone's bad day into a better day.
Fantastic. That is awesome. Have you thought of going on to LinkedIn more corporately to build the brand, or just starting off like, I know you start, like, again, I throw shit like this out there because I like to think I like to understand where your mind is going, but LinkedIn is very corporately connected for major major help in whether it's funding or groups or whatever it may be.
I
I don't
haven't
know
thought
if it,
about it because I don't know enough about it. So
right.
maybe I'll work with you on that.
Yeah, listen, I'm always open to suggestions, and there's a ton of people that are within our local community, whether it's family, that have great connections and that sort of stuff. I mean, we'll pass on back and forth information on that, because you shouldn't be doing this alone. Even though you're doing it alone, you need help. Everybody needs help. Christ, I mean, everyone needs help, whether it's mentorship, whether it's like actual links of going to and get some research done and this and that. Like the Yeti microphone that I said, you go buy a fucking microphone, don't talk on your laptop, right? So there you go, it sounds way
Yeah,
better, right? So
it does.
yeah, no, listen, you sound great. I think everything's great. You guys look great. So I know Jess is a big part of your inspiration and speaking openly about it, because they're all, if she wasn't there, or she, to talk about it, you wouldn't be doing this, right?
Yep.
And I'm,
I have
and
100% support from her, and she's my muse. She's my muse along with
she's your
Gavin.
muse. Yep.
Yeah.
Super proud of you, man, for starting this, and I can't wait to see you building something. Great things are going to happen. I like to. We're going to follow your journey, and we're going to get back on. You're going to come back on the show. We'll talk about post, of how you're growing, because that's the whole part of it. I'd love to see how you were now, to see how you are in the next couple of years, right? And what do you think in the next couple of years? What do you think is going to happen next couple of years?
I don't know. Jess and I have always talked, and it's, as I get up in age, I don't know how much longer I can do retail.
Right.
So I would love to
I
build
hear
this
you.
into something where I can, become a speaker, or,
Mhm.
make it, where I can share my journey out more than I am now, and
Right.
see where it
Right.
goes, see where it takes me.
Yeah, for sure. Listen, you've been at what, 20 something years in the business of retail. I've been over 25 years in the automotive industry. I am friggin' tired of it. It's like, there's not much left of me to say, hey, I am going to happily retire being, running an automotive company. I'm done with that. Like, I
Mhm.
like I like trying new ventures and that sort of stuff. And 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 the passion is obviously what we want to steer ourselves towards. And with and I see your passion of helping, being aware, um and sharing other people's journeys and talking to other people. I think that's your passion about it, and I see that. And I think definitely that's what's going to happen for you in the next couple of years. You're going to get more, you're going to get more, obviously more people involved with you, and you're going to be like, oh my god, it's like I'm online, I'm on the, like, the emails are coming through, people are, it's exciting, it's exciting shit, man. So I'm very happy for you, man. Super super proud of you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
And I just want to thank you one more time to because I kept thanking you for coming on board. I just want to say thank you for sharing openly and discussing, what's important in our lives is our family, right? So our family's first, and in everything that happens in life, our family's first, and how you make it a positive journey, not a negative journey. It's always a positive journey, instead of people saying, oh my god, I can't fucking deal with this anymore and blah blah blah. But we can't think like that. You have to
Correct.
think like, how can we make it, you want to make sure that your family is happy, healthy, safe. But and there's going to be the bumps in the roads that we have now. How do we handle that? And I think you're doing a
Always.
fantastic job. I think you're doing an awesome job about that.
I think it's important, the four of us, that's what we say. As long as the four of us are happy, nothing
Right.
else matters. And I think that took us a long time. And I think many people have such a journey still to take with that.
Right.
So.
Well, it's true, man. I mean, it is. And it's an ongoing learning process, and we will make it happen. I think that I think when the next time that we do see each other, which will be, well, actually, Michelle's talking about coming down this year to see you guys. She wants to do, yeah, she wants to come down and just visit the Connecticut folks and all the people and that we miss and want to see, and it'll just be like, I'm sure that once we start, I'm sure that we're gonna have the other families come down with us and we'll make a big party out of it. So it'll be kind of cool. I love it. Where it's the welcoming of you guys has been tremendous, and I love it. And then vice versa, you guys come up here, that you're treated very well.
Always.
Your
I have
kids,
a big yard, that, Dave. We can hook
yes.
up all your equipment. We have a lot of gangsters in our neighborhood, so they're ready to go.
Okay, now you're talking my language, mister. Now you're talking my language. I love it.
And I like to cook, so you'll eat well too.
Oh yeah. Yes. We do know that. So I love it. Listen, Chris, thanks again for stopping on by, and I appreciate what you're going through, and I commend you what you're doing. Don't stop at it. And I think the whole social aspect of it, I think it's a great escape for you, and you love to talk about it and continue on doing that.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. I am so honored to be on your show. I keep track of you, and I love you. You're my brother.
I appreciate it, buddy. Thanks so much. Love it too, man. I appreciate it very much. And I got to do a little plug with our sponsor. So I got to say this podcast is brought to you by Connected with Sound. Don't look anywhere else when it comes to buying gently used audio and video equipment. Call or shop online at www.connectedbysound.ca. Chris, brother, thanks so much for stopping on by, and we will air this at a later date, but it'll be up on YouTube. It'll be up on Twitch. It'll be up on Facebook. It'll also be on Spotify, Google Podcast, wherever the fuck you get your podcast platforms. We'll be on there, and I'm super, super happy that you are a part of my podcast, and we will definitely talk more about it later on.
Awesome. Look forward to it, Dave.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.